Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to take a look at something kind of special, a quiet, really careful process that makes all the technology in our lives feel, well, effortless. It's called software testing. And we're going to explore it not as some big hunt for mistakes, but as a thoughtful, deliberate strategy of care. I mean, we've all been there, right? You're right in the middle of something important. Maybe you're finishing up a big assignment or sending a message you absolutely have to get out, and then bam, the app just freezes. A button won't click. Your document just vanishes into thin air. It's a uniquely modern kind of frustration. And in that one moment, it really feels like the technology just completely failed you. It's so disruptive, it shatters your focus, and honestly, it makes you feel kind of powerless. Everything just stops. But what if we looked at this a little differently? Instead of just thinking about hunting down bugs after the fact, what if we saw the solution as something more proactive, a mindful process of building quality in from the very, very beginning? What if we saw it as a strategy of care? Okay, so the official definition sounds a bit technical, I'll grant you that. But look at that key phrase, with the intent of finding an error. See, this isn't about just hoping everything works out. It's a whole philosophy of intentionally and carefully searching for problems so that you, the person actually using it, don't have to. So how does this whole strategy actually play out? Well, it's a patient, step-by-step process. It starts with the absolute smallest piece. Then it checks how all those pieces connect to each other, and only then, at the very end, does it look at the whole picture. So let's dive into that first really foundational step. Our journey begins at the tiniest scale you can imagine. This is the first and most fundamental layer of testing, and it's called unit testing. The goal here is actually really simple, but it's also profound. It's about checking the smallest, most basic building blocks of a program totally on their own. We're not even thinking about the whole system yet, just one tiny, essential part at a time. Here is a good way to picture it. Imagine you're building a really complex, beautiful clock. A unit test is like taking one single tiny gear and making absolutely sure its teeth are perfect and that it spins exactly the way it should all by itself. It's all about checking that if you give it a specific input, you get the exact expected output every single time. And this is just so crucial. You really can't build something complex and reliable until you have complete and total confidence in its simplest parts. That trust, it's built from the ground up. Okay, so once we trust our individual pieces, what's the next logical step? Well, it's seeing how they all work together. And that brings us to the next layer of care. This is what we call integration testing, and its whole purpose is to look at those connections. The places where the individual units we just tested meet up. Do they talk to each other correctly? Or does information get lost or kind of garbled in that handoff from one piece to the next? Let's go back to our clock analogy. We've already confirmed that our individual gears are perfect, right? So now we take two of them and see how they actually mesh together. When one gear turns, does it turn the next one smoothly? Is there any grinding or slipping? This is where we test the relationship between the parts. The importance of these early steps is just captured so perfectly in this quote from software expert Boris Beiser. He said that focusing only on the final product is like having an interior designer inspect a beautiful building while completely ignoring the foundations, the girders, and the plumbing. You just have to check those fundamental connections first. So let's just pause on that for a second. And just breathe. It's a good reminder that quality isn't just a single checkmark at the end of a project. It's a process of building trust, layer by layer, right from the very bottom up. All right, so we have trustworthy parts, and we know they connect to each other properly. Now, and only now, are we finally ready to look at the whole shebang. This final stage is called system testing, and this is where the fully assembled software gets tested from end to end. The focus totally shifts from how the little pieces work to what the entire system does. Does it actually meet all the requirements it was designed for? Our clock is now fully assembled. All those gears we tested one by one and then in pairs, they're all part of the complete machine now. So the system test isn't about checking one little gear anymore. Nope, it's about asking one really simple question. Does the clock tell time? And does it keep telling time reliably over the long haul? So let's do a quick recap of that journey, shall we? Unit testing looks at one single component, Integration testing checks the connections between them. And system testing observes the final, complete product in action. See how each stage carefully builds on the confidence of the one before it? And that's really the heart of it. Quality isn't something you find in one big final inspection. It's something that's revealed slowly, through a patient process of confirming trust at every single step along the way. So why does all this matter to us? In our everyday lives with our phones and our laptops? What's the big takeaway here? Well, the next time you use an app or a piece of software and it just works perfectly, seamlessly, without any friction at all, just take a second and remember that this feeling of effortlessness, it isn't an accident. It's the result of all these quiet, invisible layers of care. And that really is the core idea. The most reliable technology feels simple, not because of some kind of magic, but because of an incredibly thoughtful, deliberate process that happens behind the scenes. Quality isn't an accident. It's a quiet, deliberate strategy of care. Thanks so much for joining me today.